Okay? Although there are those who disagree based on what's written, one who curdles milk is liable due to borer, even though milk is not gidule karka. So Rav Yosef said another reason why we allow the spoons to be separated from the forks and the knives and put them in the right compartments, Ari John, is because one reason was there is not a mixture of what I prefer versus what I don't prefer. Everything is right now in the same level for me. It's not like I'm trying to eat a steak and I'm trying to find, where's the fork? And there's a pile of silverware over there and you're trying to find the fork and you're taking the fork out right now and you say, oh, good, I have now the fork. I'm going to prepare it for soon the steak is coming. So now you've separated out of the pile now and you're going to use it later. It's a problem of borer. Because you have a preference for the good out of the pile of different ones of them. And you didn't. No, I'm not saying when it's all just on top like this. You're like looking for it. And you found that fork out of the pile of different things that you have preference for versus the other. You don't want to have a spoon to eat steak with, right? You want to have a fork for that. So you separated, let's say Friday night, knowing that Shabbat morning is going to be very hard to find one. So Friday night, you're going to the box, you're separating it, putting it aside. So you separate it at Friday night and you're going to use it on Shabbat morning. That's a problem of not immediate purpose. You separate it now, I use it much later. It's a problem of borer on Shabbat. Rabbi, but didn't you tell us that it's called sorting, it's not called selecting? For you, it is selecting because you wanted the spoon, the fork, because you wanted to eat the steak with this right now. You did not want to eat the spoon to eat steak with. So you have a preference. Once you have a preference, the problem of borer started. But once you washed all the dishes and you have the pile of the silverware over there, you don't have a preference for the forks versus the spoons, for the knives. You just want to put everything in the right compartment and go sleep. You don't have a preference in this moment. Therefore, it's not considered to be a borer. Are you, John, so far so good? Clear? If not, I'll explain again. Very good. So now says Avadia, another reason is why is it allowed? Because if you remember, we had a machloket between Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda in Masechet Shabbat of Ayin Hey. Gemara and Rabbi Yehuda says that if a person catches a fish on Shabbat, that he wants to derive the blue color, blood of the fish in order to make the blue string of the tchelet. If a person did that on Shabbat, is he liable for catching the fish plus for squeezing the blood out? He purposely didn't kill the fish, because if he will kill the fish, the amount of blood production will be reduced. If you make the fish bleed and you're squeezing the blood out, the body makes more blood. And that's more production, more money for the guy that makes that. So he doesn't want to kill it. Meir John. Meir Tzadik.
One day.
Stoi.
Oh, sure.
Atioch mochi munki. Asarot.
Sorry.
Meir John. Meir soon is going to make bar mitzvah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's invited.
Next year?
Bar mitzvah for the amount of years he knows me.
This year? Oh.
Yeah, me and Meir are the longest one.
13 years.
Yeah. So now, Jesse, the Gidulei Karka, Rav Yosef says, another reason why is it allowed, if you remember, we had fish doesn't grow from the ground. Rabbanan say, if you catch a fish and you are slicing it and make the blood come out, Rabbanan say, you're only liable for one, for tzad, catching it. What about you making it bleed, you're making the blood to be squeezed out? What about dash? Dash is the threshing, is squeezing out. Says Rabbanan, no, there is no problem of squeezing out. Why not? Because it doesn't grow from the ground. That's Rabbanan opinion. Yaakov John, Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. He says you caught the fish on Shabbat. That's one avera. When you make the blood squeezed out from that, it's second avera. Why? Because the laws of squeezing applies even to things that does not grow from the ground. Fish grows from the ground or no? No. And Siravno, he says the laws of dash squeezing applies to that. Now, how do we hold halacha? Like Rabbi Yehuda or like Rabbanan? Bechor John.
Муше чего Соломон.
Что есть?
Беспилотники, у кого нет, протекшн у меня есть.
Что такое?
$55.
Sold.
It's a wool, Bechor?
Да, well, ספרדי.
Very good, Bechor.
Сдачи нету.
$5 delivery charge.
Сейчас покопаю в своих суточках. Может, пятерку найду.
Что, Шихьяну сказать, да?
והפעם הוא לא בחור מבשדו.
Что, Шихьяну сказать, да?
If you're happy with that, yeah.
It's medium же.
Это ספרדי.
Ну, ты extra large или нет?
Это medium написано.
שהכל Bechor.
Extra, extra.
Ну, потом это продажа. Let's go, שהכל. Биршу. Хай, подождем вас. Ну, בסדר. Вы сегодня мицва сделали.
Сейчас одет, да?
Huh? You can, yeah. Right, make sure it's good enough for you.
רבי מאיר, שמו רבי מאיר לצטון.
Okay? Although there are those who disagree, so says Ravadia right now, okay, you're telling me that the laws of threshing, squeezing, doesn't apply to the fish because Allah has like Rabbanan, because Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. Yachid ve'rabim, halacha, like rabim, right? That's the rule. Therefore, halacha is like the Rabbi Meir. Is this 24 centimeters on the shoulders? Let me see it for you.
It's more. It's big.
Let me see. Don't rush to conclusions. I'm not sure if it's 24.
It's 28 even.
No, I don't think it's 24.
Цадык бен цадыки.
It's maybe 23.
Десятку разобьете?
Бехор, ничего не ломайте, сейчас вернем это вам.
Кому вернем? Никто ничего не вернет.
9.5 inches. I'm not sure if it's 9.5. I think it's 9. I think you're missing half inch. Проверь.
Что?
Что делать? Что, мне надо измерить, что ли?
Разведяемся.
Maybe Rabbi has the tape measure. Проверь.
Одевайте.
Отсюда не надо было. Don't over exaggerate. 9.5 inches on each shoulder. If you want to be 100%. If you want to be בסדר, that's also kasher. There is a debate. The hole counts in or no? The hole counts as part of the amah. You're supposed to have amah on 2 amot. Some say amah on 1.5 amah. The length. The length is never a problem. The problem is the width. Right, doesn't it?
כשר, פיידות, מאיר.
So, listen, it's kasher. I'm not saying pasul.
А какая разница? 24, 23?
If it is, you need to have 48 centimeters, which is amah, of the shoulders.
Растягивается?
No,
Это же растягивается, не?
without the hole. It has to be 48 without the hole.
Znam dori. Idemo tamo jako gumne igri.
А что, вы 10 дали здесь? А не, это 5.
בכל שמות היום.
О, вроде бы.
Давайте.
Это вул, да?
Да.
Вул, да?
$55. Для вашего тоже есть. Мальчик.
מוריה, תגיד.
ברשות מוריי ורבותיי,
Шумай.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. Okay.
Хлопчатый бумажник 20.
בכור ג'ון, we have שיעור תורה. What?
Витул Тора это.
Yeah, you remember. This one, the right one. Справа, который. Юд, алеф, потом хей, далет, потом вав, нун, потом хей, юд. It's, at the beginning, it's going to be hard for you to remember all 8 letters. Because it's confusing. I'll tell you how I remember. I put it in 2 words in my mind. That word, I have 2 words of it.
Which one?
Ya'e and then donhi. сразу в мозгах идет. Ya'e, Yud, Aleph, Ya'e. В моих мозгах это. Then donhi. Не дони, donhi. Потому что буква Hey. You're going to miss out on the Hey. Yeah. That's for Amen, Kavana of Brachot. Of Kaddish, Kavana is Ida, Aleph, Yud, Dalet, Hey, and then Noya, Nun, Vav, Yud, Hey. Don't say together, it's God's names, yeah?
А где это написано?
Ida and then Noya.
Колора.
This is, you see, under the Shiviti. Покажи ему, Давиджо.
Да, вот видно.
Ya'e and then Donhe. That's the Kabbalistic Kavanah. And the other one is the left one over there. Ida and then Noya. With time, try to, Abotai, grow your level.
За вкусняшками.
А там
Don't
что
stay lower, bottom line, bottom line, bottom line. Grow.
написано?
In Gemara, in Pilpulim, in Mishnah, in Zohar, in Kabbalah, you have to grow. It's called Pardes Torah.
What does grow mean?
Grow. Your knowledge should be growing, and you think about this knowledge, not just know it.
Elevate yourself.
Elevate yourself. Got it?
In wisdom of
The wisdom of our Torah. Torah has pshat, remez, drash, sod. Some people are stayed in the pshat for the rest of their life. It's not good. You have to learn how to grow all the way to
right.
the sod. Got it?
Which is Kabbalah.
Very good.
שהחיינו סגולה?
If you're happy with that, yeah.
אותנו אלוהינו, חורנו, שהחיינו.
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 החיינו. וקיימנו.
וקיימנו.
והגיענו.
והגיענו.
לזמן.
לזמן.
הזה.
הזה.
Amen.
Amen.
Ay, 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 ay.
Okay? No, he bought a new
Zo
garment.
yüreğim stalsın.
A new garment.
Make a brick
When you bought a new garment,
Sure, sure.
Maran Paskin in Siman Chavbet, you have to say Shehecheyanu.
Not talit every time.
Maran says on talit.
Every time, but
If you're happy with that,
Maran, Maran.
wool talit.
The wool.
Open Siman Chavbet 22.
Sure, yeah.
You don't remember. Okay, let's go next.
I take it for like $30. I'm serious.
$3.
$30.
Хорджо, у нас урок, это уже третий раз, это мешает нам, Бехо, это мешает.
После урока.
Хорджо, это нам мешает.
Больше.
כל המצוות.
Я знаю Коры Митцвот, but there is Talmud Torah. כנגד כולם, John Dedesh. Okay, next.
Ali,
Опять он.
I love you.
Это тоже мешает.
Вы должны только любить Ашема в синагоге.
Поехали. Even though milk is...
לא גיטה.
No. Milk is not Gidule Karka. So it says, now a question to you, Bechor. The spoons, you said, the reason why we're allowed to separate them and put it in the right compartments, because the laws of borer and the laws of threshing, squeezing, only applies to things that grow from the ground. But mital, it doesn't grow from the ground. Spoon, fork, all this made out of mital. Mital is made in the ground, not formed, not growing from the ground. Right? So, it says right now, listen, look at this. What about milk? Is milk growing from the ground? No. And you're telling me one of the reasons you're not allowed to make cheese on Shabbat, take milk and squeeze the sour thing on top of it on Shabbat, is because you're going to separate the fat from the milk of it. The fat from the milk of it. Prana. Which is going to be a problem of borer. Got it?
Сквизинг тут.
Bechor didit. To shmo chudot daro achiska kordak. Chato kardet. Korim ismo gufta. Oh, this razu, number one ameshuze.
Что он пролился?
Это называется...
Сразу морковка сварилась.
Да московский не дошел.
Да не дошла? Amen. Okay. And from what the Trumat Adeshan wrote that Borer applied to fish.
הכל בכושר זה גם פה.
No. You drank.
You already drank.
סתור вытереть сначала.
Okay.
Еще один возьмет, тоже он раскачает?
No.
Нет, не пошло.
Depends on him. What was his mind? Depends on what was in his mind. Okay. And for what Trumat Adeshan, so it says right now, you're saying milk, right? Milk does not grow from the ground. So why you said the laws of Borer applies to that? So if you're saying Rabbi, you know why I'm allowed to put the spoons and the forks in the right compartments? Because the laws of Borer doesn't apply to things that does not grow from the ground. Yeah? What about milk? Gemara says not allowed to make the milk into cheese because of Borer. Milk does not grow from the ground, and still the Gemara said it's not allowed to. So we see that the laws of Borer applies even to things that does not grow from the ground. That's a question against our ruling about the spoons and the forks.
But it's machloket.
Huh?
It's machloket.
Right.
It's not
So that's the reason there is a machloket. Got it? And from what Tumat Adeshan wrote, that Borei applies to fish even though they are not Gidulei Karka. something that grows from the ground. The Taz wrote that selecting up applies, selecting which is borer.
Don't know. That's what they say.
Okay, applies to things that are not gidule karka, does not grow from the ground, and his proof is from the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat. When one who makes a barrel is liable for 7 sins. Maybe I should say 7 biblical sins. Biblical sins. And one of them is selecting large pebbles from the grits. Do you know, guys, what is grits? Grits. Amen. Great. So it says a person makes a barrel on Shabbat. Barrel made out of clay. Are you with us? Very good. You're taking the pebbles from the grits. When you make a bochka barrel, you don't want it to be bumpy. You want it to be smooth, nice. Now, when you take from the ground, some ground is crystallized. I don't know how you call it. Become hard, right? And it stays like a rock. And the other mud, you're going to be able to mix with the water and form your bochka, your barrel, right? Shape it the way you like it. If a person makes that on Shabbat, says the Gemara, you broke 7 Torah laws. One of them, says the Gemara, is borer. Rashi over there explains like this. Is borer. Why did I do borer there? He said, when you took the sand, the mud, out of the rocks, right? Or you took the rocks out of the mud, what did you do, borer? Says Rav Ovadia, rock and mud grow from the ground? No, they form in the ground, but they don't grow from the ground. And yet, what the Gemara says? That the laws of borer applies. So how did you say spoons munkin allowed, the forks it's allowed, because it does not grow from the ground? Says the Taz, that's not true. This is a clear disproof to the proof that you said that the laws of borer doesn't apply to things that doesn't grow from the ground. Where did you get that?
Yeah, but that's talking about midrabanan now. It's not the midoraita.
7 biblical laws.
No. I'm talking about.
When you make the barrel,
whatever is not growing from the ground. Whatever is not growing from the ground.
the laws of borer applies from Torah.
Torah,
7
from,
biblical laws.
No, I'm not talking about the barrel now. I'm talking about anything that doesn't grow from the ground.
That also doesn't grow from the ground. The pebbles and those rocks, the hard rocks, when you separate the rocks out of the pebbles or the mud, whatever you call it, it says the Rashi over there, you broke the laws of borer.
But that's what originally they were doing in Beit HaMikdash.
So if a person did that on Shabbat,
right.
the Gemara says you broke 7 Torah laws. And one of the things on the list is the borer. Why borer? It doesn't grow from the ground. So what do we... Right. Whenever you have a mixture, let's say, let's say you have in a barrel, in a bowl. Kosa, what do you call it? Bowl. You know what bowl is.
Yeah.
You have inside mud and you have some rocks. And you want to go home right now and make mixture and make a nice barrel. Bochka. Right? Jar, whatever you call it. You don't want the rocks to stick out when you make it. You want it to be nice, smooth.
Oh, so you take them out.
So you take them out.
Separate.
What did you do? Borer, huh?
Separate them.
But that doesn't grow from the ground. The rocks and the mud.
Because this is the original way it was in the Mishkan.
Good.
That's
So the
why.
laws of Borer applies even to things.
Only for that.
Why you say only for that?
Only for that. Right?
Why you say only for that?
If we're talking about that's not growing from the ground, it only applies for that, whatever doesn't grow from the ground. Because it's from the Mishkan. originally from Mishkan.
That's not done for Mishkan. This barrel was not done for
No,
Mishkan.
not barrel. By separating the stones.
Right.
That's where we learned.
Right. With the plants that they needed to derive the color.
Right.
Samamanim.
Right. Samamanim. Right.
Okay. So what's your point? Where are you going?
This is the only thing that applies.
What? Only the rocks?
That doesn't grow from the ground.
But why in the Mishkan it applied? Because you had the rocks
Right.
mixed with the plants.
Right.
Plants grow from the ground.
Yes.
So the laws of Borer applies to things that grow from the ground. Comes the Gemara and says, listen, if a person makes a barrel on Shabbat, he breaks 7 Torah laws. And the whole list over there. And one of the things on the list, Borer. So says the Taz. What do we see from here? The Taz is buried in Poland. I was in his grave. Last time I was in Krakow. And the Taz holds, it's one of the very important Chachamim we have in Halakha. And he says, you see, the laws of Borer apply to things that doesn't grow from the ground. So how did Rabbi Ovadia Yosef said, Rabotai, you finish washing your dishes. You're allowed to take the plates, put them in the right track, in their compartments, in their cabinets. You're allowed to take the piles of the spoons and the forks and knives, put everything in the right compartment. What's the justification?
Because that's sorting.
Okay, so what? Sorting. Good.
Choosing.
Good. Jesse, you saying good answer. But Rabbi Yosef says there is another reason.
What is it?
That the Borer restrictions does not apply to things that doesn't grow from the ground, that the spoons, fork didn't grow from the ground. Says Ravadia, am I right? The Taz brings to us this proof that it does apply. Rabotai, you should know, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, it's not mafioznik. I'm right and that's it. Some people have such a mentality. Yas Kazal. So what you say?
No.
Bring sources.
No, it's not shtoya. I was the chief rabbi of, I was the chief over there. That's not how Torah works. Torah is not Yas Kazal. Prove your point.
I see Mashiach.
Huh?
I saw Mashiach.
Mashiach is a different question. But we're not talking about Mashiach. We're talking about right now, Sak Halakha. That's not a joke, Rabotai. Many people have that mentality. Bovos Kazal, Papa's Kazal. But listen, if you told me to clean the dishes, you told me to do something for you, you're Papa. Okay, I have to listen to you. But whenever Papa's Kazal, this is the law of Torah, who said that? You never follow because your father or grandfather, somebody said something, it means that's it. It's absolute right. It's not true. It could be that it's not the absolute right. In Torah, there is no such a thing. Listen, I'm your father. How do you disrespect me? You said something that it's allowed when I said it's not allowed. Abba, you said not allowed to. I found proofs that it is allowed to. That's the beauty of Torah. Torah has no balabait over. It's not monopoly, mafia.
No rikitzin.
So how many proofs you gotta prove in order to prove your point? One proof is enough, or you gotta bring so many?
So Rav Ovadia Yosef right now, what we love about Rav Ovadia, why everybody follow Rav Ovadia? People know that Rav Ovadia is not going to try to hide information from you.
Finds leniency also.
Not only he finds leniency, he knows so much information, and he's telling you the sides that he is supporting his opinion, and the other side that this not supporting his opinion. Nogan taki chachamim nietu. They find their ways. That's it. You see, Allah. That's here. I found your proof. What about the other proofs? He didn't prove it to the reader.
They blocked them.
Rav Ovadia takim nebo.
But Rabbi, you know what's so interesting?
And he also retracted. If you disprove him, I'm sorry. How you sorry? You're the chief rabbi of the world. How are you sorry? How did you make a mistake?
They'll accept your opinion.
Because it's not for the ga'ava, kavod, yas, kazal. No, takov nietu.
Rabbi.
And people Abotah that have the mentality of ego, yas, kazal, you're never wrong. Also the way he talks, the way he behaves, you should know this person is going to make a lot of mistakes in halakha.
Right.
A lot. And this is one of the laws that David HaMelech learned from Achitophel. Do you know, Ari? David HaMelech called Achitophel Rabbi Alufi Miuda'i. What? Why? He said, he taught me an halakha. What was the halakha he taught him? When you go to Bet HaMidrash, don't go with your nose up. When you go to learn, you have to know that you don't know nothing. Somebody's going to come and say, listen, you said the other day this and this. I said over here, I saw over here like this. Yeah, maybe I made a mistake. Let me read. then you'll find the truth. If you are not like this type of person, which if you have to look at your way or the highway, that's not Torah. That's Quran. That's I don't know, maybe other. That's not Torah. You understand? That's the beauty of Torah. Every one of us have to have the mentality that I am here to receive Torah information that I don't know. Don't come with the mindset, Mohammed Rabbi. We know everything you're going to say. It's very important. David HaMelech learned from Achitofel. And for that he called him all his life, my rabbi. Rabbi, Alufi, Uyudai.
который его подвел потом.
Да.
Rabbi, my question is like this. If we have the original law, hold on. If we have the original law, right, that we learn from Mishkan, we separated the rocks from the plants, right? Both of them are there, Rabbi.
Right.
One that has to do with ground, and one has to do with no ground. So why can't we just learn from there? Why do we have to go through all this? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see where I'm
Yeah, but what if it would be a rocks and something else that both does not grow from the ground? What happens now?
Then we go according to the rocks, because since the rocks do not grow from the
You have to have a mixture in order to have borer, prana. What's the mixture? You need to have things grow from the ground. Plants will grow from the ground.
Okay.
So is it only that, or applies to any other thing that mixed also?
Anything that grows from the ground, okay? Anything that grows from the ground, we say borei.
That's the plants.
The plants.
What about there's going to be a mixture of things that does not grow from the ground?
Sounds like it's also going to be borei.
Is also borer or no?
It's also borei.
That's the question.
That's what we're elaborating.
The Taz says yes. What's the proof?
We have to learn from that.
He says because the Gemara says on a different page that if you're making the barrel, in order to make that, you got to take the soft mud out of the rocks, right? When you're doing that separation, it's borer. But those things does not grow from the ground,
Both of them don't grow. From
Right.
The ground. Right.
and still the laws of borer applies. What are you going to answer that, Rabbi Ovadia? Kakat Vechna? Comes Ovadia Yosef and says, I have a rejection to that proof. I will reject that proof. How? It says, Gemara over there says, how many violations this Mechalel Shabbat did? When a person is Mechalel Shabbat, we're not trying to find him a leniencies. Say, he didn't break Shabbat because those things doesn't grow from the ground. We will try to latch on him, put on him every single violation possible for him not to be breaking the Shabbat. Because don't forget, he made another 6 Torah violations. That's not a joke. This proof is rejected by some because the law in Tractate Shabbat is different as borer was not permitted for those mechalei Shabbat, but maybe for others that separated in a kosher way, for a kosher reason, it will be allowed. Got it?
Yeah, but now.
So bottom line, Rabbi Yosef says the laws of borer applies to things that grow from the ground only, or to other things also.
Also.
Bottom line,
Depends for who.
machloket.
But you said depends for who.
Marasha.
Got it? Johnny Bechor. We are number 8 right now.
So machloket, you could use it only for suffix fika.
Right, so therefore we're going to use it to allow when if you have other reason to permit. We're going to be together, suffix fika.